Newcastle, who are fifth, 3 points behind Chelsea, visit Spurs, which sounds like it could be lively, you'd think. Jay, you're going along to this.
I certainly am, yeah. Obviously, I've taken up Charlie's position covering Spurs for The Athletic. And, Brentford were stable. You knew what you were getting. And Spurs, it's just it's been a roller coaster.
I did warn you.
You did, but, the last few home games, they've obviously drawn 2 with Wolves where they conceded a late equaliser. You had the 4-3 against Chelsea, 6-3 against Liverpool.
Right.
The 4-3 against Man United in the Cup.
It's the worst home form in the Premier League, is it fair to say?
I think certainly recently.
It's the worst Spurs home form since Juan de Ramos.
So this is the first time they've finished in the bottom half of the Premier League at the end of a calendar year since 2008, 2009. I think it's the first time they've not won 5 league games in a row since October 2008, which was Juan de Ramos era. So they're racking up the bad records at the moment. And they're just... I know we were talking about sometimes you need injuries to allow young players their opportunity, but Archie Gray's basically now a centre-back and he's only 18 years old. And I feel,
I can't need to also play left-back.
I feel so sorry for him. He was coming up against, Salah, Luis Diaz, etc. And he was brought to play in midfield, sometimes right-back, and now he's, potentially going to be up against Alexander Isak this weekend. So Spurs' injuries are just causing them so many problems. And I think one thing you can guarantee with Spurs at the moment is that they will concede, so they sort of have to outscore teams. It's just whether they can outscore a Newcastle team who are in great form at the moment.
Yeah. Newcastle 5 wins in a row in all competitions by contrast, and 4 clean sheets in a row in the Premier League as well, worryingly for Tottenham Hotspur. Alexander Isak, who's scored in his last 6. Yeah, and Spurs, the players, you mentioned the absentees. You've got Bentancur out now, suspended, Cher as well, and Destiny Udogie as well.
Yeah, so that's the rumour. We've not confirmed that yet.
6 to 10 weeks, they're saying.
Yeah, so we're not 100% sure on that at the moment, but Udogie has been sort of managing a bit of muscle tightness recently. He missed, I think it was the Carabao Cup game against United. He missed the game against Liverpool, came back against Nottingham Forest. And was it against Wolves he came off? There's been so many games over the Christmas period, they're all merging into one. But I think he came off against Wolves, and the suggestion is that it is quite bad.
He missed a chunk of the back end of last season and has played a huge amount this season, and he's playing in probably the most demanding position in the Postecoglou system, so this injury has felt like it's been in the post.
And it does mean that Spurs will be without first choice goalkeeper, 2 first choice centre backs, first choice left back. So bring on Jed Spence.
Crikey.
Yeah, and Ben to go back out. I mean, you would think Newcastle would be relishing this game. Like the way they're playing. They are in a good moment, and the way they went to Old Trafford and played with such authority.
They've absolutely nailed their midfield as well. Like the Tonali Guimaraes combo is so good now, because when one goes forward, the other stays back. And
so good. What's the mood like at Spurs, Jay?
It's quite up and down. I think what they're clinging on to at the moment is the fact that they have got this Carabao Cup semi-final. Although I think it's going to be difficult for them to beat Liverpool over 2 legs. I think if it was a one-off game, I might have a bit more confidence. But 2 legs, especially with the second leg being at Anfield, I think it's going to be really tough. They should get into the top 8 of the Europa League. They've got 2 very winnable fixtures against Hoffenheim away and Elfsborg. So I think there's enough going on in other competitions for them to get excited about, but the league form at the moment is just, they just can't arrest the slide.
Who are they going to take up? Tamworth
away.
Yeah.
But in those European games, Spence isn't registered, is he?
Yeah.
So then it's like Gray's going to have to play left back there, while maybe simultaneously playing centre back.
Yeah.
I mean, like, they really are stretched. But yeah, I mean, I feel like the way things are going with Spurs this season, I don't see that compelling a reason to make a managerial change. Even if you don't think Postecoglou's the guy long term, they're in a position where they could win a cup. The way they play is such risky football, but in one-off games, that might be enough to get them a trophy. And what's a change in manager? Yeah, it might sort of salvage their season in inverted commas, move them up to 6th as opposed to them finishing maybe 7th under Postecoglou. I don't know. It doesn't feel like it's really worth
And
just
also, what
chucking
do
it
you
all
do?
out again.
Do you bring in like a negative manager and go back to sort of, you know? I mean,
Though it's not so binary. I mean, there are plenty of managers in between Ange and say
yeah,
Nuno
but I think the
and
new
reactive,
manager
proactive.
would feel pressure to like, what do you need to fix? I need to, make us hard to beat.
And there's also not anyone really out there right now.
The Totally Football Show podcast is available 3 times a week, bringing you all the football news you could reasonably be expected to care about. We've got views, we've got stats, we've got analysis, we've got some of the best football writers around, and the whole thing is absolutely free. So have a listen on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or all the usual places by clicking on the link below.